Now, the way we'd steal, we would have to go into the, you go through this search when it was over. But the way we'd smuggle, for example, we had our combat boots. We'd have the clothes that would snug in that. Well, you'd shove it in, drop in the food, and lodge it down there, to go through a search because they'd search all that. Well, that worked for quite a while until one day, one of the guys we got through a search, and one of the guys had snagged his trouser down there. And things would have been all right, except that day we happened to have stolen oatmeal. And so we finished that, and it walked off, and there was a trail of oatmeal. Just started following the guys around. They said, come as he off, and they just said, well, anyway, that ended that. It was not a good place. But the armpit, now I'll tell you, you'd be surprised how much food you can put under your armpit, And we to go through a search, and we'd take this out and open up like that, and they wouldn't catch food that was in the armpit. So that was the armpit was a great place to steal. Something to always remember if you ever get in that situation. Anyway, so
heat it up at the same time.
Yeah, so that's the so that was the other one. We get through there. Well, anyway, those were ways that we would do that, and then but we have to go through these searches. But one day we were working in one area, and another thing we do, they'd have at night. We were in the pathway from the RAF on the way to Berlin, and they marched us into the basement of this warehouse area at night, and for the air raid. But we weren't ever bombed there, but we get under there. But you'd pass by the latrine, so if we weren't able to pass it on someone, you'd bury it. You see, there's dirt thing, just bury it there, and then when they had the air raid, you just go in and you reach in and take it back, because it's pitch dark and they don't even know you're not down there. You rejoin them when they go back and get searched. Well, that was another way that would work. Well, these worked out good. But one day, Clarence Deal. Now he lives here in Jones, Oklahoma, incidentally. But he was, of course, at that time I was living in Fort Smith, and he here. But he was lived in. He's the brother of Cott Deal, the baseball player you've heard about. And Clarence Deal was working with. He and I were both prisoners in that same thing. And so he came in and had a bottle of German schnapps, about that big, And I was walking in, and at that time most things were packed at that time in breakable things in not now, but in wooden crates when they were stuffed with straw, but they weren't solid wood, Well, somehow or another he'd managed to pull that thing out, and he handed it to me, and he said, "Here, Penn, take this." He handed it to me because we were moving one area, they were another. I said, what do I do? I couldn't put it under my armpit, room. So I stuck it in the seat of my pants. And I said, oh my gosh. And I went to we went to that place we went, and so I pretty quickly told the guard that I need to go. You need to go too if you had a bottle of schnapps in the seat of your pants, And so I got down there. He didn't search me because I was, we hadn't worked in anything, and he hadn't seen me, that switch over there. And so I started down there. But the German major, who was the commandant of that thing, he knew I had something. I was going to the latrine to bury it, He called me back, come as he off. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be seeing myself on the firing squad the next day. He called me back, and he started searching me everywhere. He made me take off my jacket, everything, except the seat of the pants, everything. And I went there, and when I hit the latrine, I just fell on the floor. I was so much in shock, and lay there a little while to recover, and then I buried it. That night we had an air raid, which we're always doing. So I dug it up, and we came back in, and I pass it around. I'm not a drinker of that stuff, you know. I mean, and yet I was the one who stole it and got it down there, and they gave everybody a sip. And just with one sip, everybody was singing, you know. I mean, but in the condition we were in physically, you know, and they were all singing and everything, and we buried these. We dropped the bottle into our own sink, and we all had diarrhea then, so it just sunk down there, you know, and the evidence was gone. And but anyway, at that time, Red Martin, he was the criminal from. He decided I had talent, and he really started working with me. And you know, he figured out I can teach it. In fact, he told me if I'd come to Philadelphia after the war, he'd have a job for me, and he'd tell me all these things, you know. And he said, "Now, Penn, I'll tell you one thing. If you ever get a chance to steal something, it doesn't make any difference if you need it or not.